Let's take a look at the economic implications of a bill passing through the legislature. We'll specifically look at Senate Bill 213. We can start by looking at how this bill has moved through the legislature and at what effect government intervention would have on the associated markets. At the start of the session, Bill 231 was referred to the Judiciary and Transportation Committees. And then the Transportation Committee scheduled a public hearing for January 29th, and that hearing was then moved to February 3rd. And on the 3rd of February, the Transportation Committee voted to pass the bill with an amendment repealing the current laws except for the vehicle being listed as reconstructed on your registration. The bill was voted on, and Representatives Inouye, Shimabukuro, Favela, and Harimoto all voted aye. Only Senator Harimoto with reservations. The bill then passed second reading as amended and was again referred to the Judiciary Committee. There were mixed feelings amongst the community. However, most individuals and community groups were all for this bill passing. Individuals who were testifying in support of Bill 213 take great pride in reconstructing their own vehicles. In doing so, they make sure their vehicles are as safe as possible and are still required to go through a rigorous safety check. A few local car clubs and even the Department of Transportation submitted testimony supporting Bill 213. The Department of Transportation went as far as saying that the individuals performing inspections are not engineers and lack the knowledge to accurately perform the check. Opposition amongst individuals was very limited. However, this bill was opposed by both HPD and the Hawaii Insurers Council. HPD and the Insurance Council were in agreement, both fearing that there will be more dangerous cars on the road if this bill does pass. Recon parts can be considered a private good because it's a product you need to purchase, and once you put it on your car, it won't be applicable to any other vehicle. The social cost of not having a recon check would be that it would be up to the owner of the vehicle to ensure that his vehicle will not harm anyone else while they're out on a public road. An externality that could occur without the requirement of the recon check would be parts of vehicles falling off and possibly damaging other people's vehicles while out on the road. The market for lift kits is currently underproduced because there are many standards that your vehicle must meet to be able to drive on a public road. If the bill passes, there won't be as many requirements and more people would want to lift their trucks. So more lift kits for different types of trucks will be produced. Right now, the market for lift kits and lowering kits is very inelastic because the buyer doesn't have many choices to choose from. However, if the recon check disappears, there may very well be more shops that will enter the market, and in that case, people's demand could become slightly more elastic.
Today I'm talking about bills SP2 and 3 and the PPC model, also about the chapter 1, 2, and 3 turns. As the SP2 and 3 bills pass, the recon stations probably will shut down because the recon inspection is actually getting the funds from the government. So after the bill passes, the government will use this financial capital to repurpose something else, such as land, labor, or other public goods for the communities. This one, and this one is the financial capitals. So I think they can reduce the capital expense to the RICO programs to use something else. In the testimony, the transportation chair said that the more modification on the road, over here, the more accidents will happen. Accidents and car modifications are the positive relationships. However, in fact, it's a negative relationship because the reconstruction enthusiasts are more focused on their car safety when they are modifying. Now in these comments, So in other words, they will be Karuana to their car safety, which means they will be responsible for their car safeties. Karuana is a Hawaiian word mean privilege and responsibilities. So here is the PPC models. In the PPC models, I'm focusing on the car manufacturer's production before and after the build part. Inside the PPC, the vertical line is the quantity of the parts to the reconstruction of the cars, and the horizontal line is the quantity of cars they produce. So I write two diagrams, one for now and another one for the futures. So inside those two diagrams, I will put point A for today and point B for the future in the market. In today and the future PPC diagrams, we can see the point A and B are both inside the curve. They are in full capacity to produce and efficiently use their resources because they use the machine to auto-produce their products. As a result, point A and point B should be inside the curves to represent the full capacity of physical capital they use in the production line. Also, in the future PPC diagrams, the curve will shift a little upward because there will be an increasing demand for reconstruction parts, causing an increasing in quantity of supply. Ultimately, it will result in economic growth, adjust the scarcity, and know the trade-off because the curve is bigger than before in the market. Also, it's a rational decision making to buy the parts of the recon car now when the price is decreasing because the supply is actually increasing now.
Here, we'll look at a demand-supply model for the market for car accessories like lift kits. This shows the market system in an equilibrium state, and our next picture will show the effects of Bill 231 passing. We can assume that if the bill passes, the demand for modified vehicles will rise as you don't have to deal with the hassle of a recon check in addition to a safety check. And as a complementary good, car part accessories demand would rise as demand for modified cars rises, shown here by the pink line. The demand curve resulting from the positive demand shock, the resulting equilibrium price rises in the short run, and equilibrium quantity demanded also rises in the short run. Get ready for a rainbow of colors as we look at the effects of the invisible hand in the long run. Without getting distracted by all the lines and colors, we can see what happens in a market with low barriers to entry and many other producers. With relatively low barriers to entry to start selling automotive parts, the initial increase in price, shown at PE2, would see firms making a positive accounting profit. This would lead some of the entrepreneurs to enter the market to steal their own share of the profits. As you can see here in the long run, demonstrated by the bright red line, more producers would enter the market, causing a positive supply shock. This secondary shock puts downward pressure on the price, driving it back towards PE1. This checks out because we know that in a market facing monopolistic competition, they'll earn a normal economic profit in the long run. If we continue further along the supply chain, we could also expect to see changes in the market for production of specific homogeneous goods like shock springs or suspension parts. If consumer preferences were to become increasingly more favorable towards specialized vehicles, we could even see a shock in a separate market. We can now look at possible effects on the non-precious metals market. If demand were to rise in a short enough time, we could experience a positive demand shock, creating a shortage in the market, therefore driving the price up. As of right now, with recon still being in effect, there's fair market share amongst the shops able to do this type of labor. While if recon were to stop and be no longer needed, we could see the market share decrease for these firms in the market because more firms would likely enter the market. With the passing of this bill, we could even see a horizontal merger between different shops that offer services to modify your car, such as tire and wheel shops merging with shops that are able to install lift kits or suspension. This could happen because now you need to stop at different shops for different jobs. A fixed cost for a shop could be labor, rent, or your utilities, while your variable cost would be the type of lift kit, tires, or wheels you're selling because you can choose from many different brands and price points. A horizontal merger could even see firms lower their average fixed costs if they can share things like rent and utilities. We know that a successful circular model keeps natural resources in production as long as possible. And rather than wasting anything, we'd rather repurpose that waste to be used in another separate market. After acquiring natural resources, we'd suggest processing that metal carefully while saving all scraps, and then scrap metal could then be repurposed and transformed into other parts. Finally, to complete the cycle, we would suggest reclaiming and refurbishing old parts. And when that's not possible, then you'd want to transfer whatever resources you have into another circular model to minimize waste throughout the entire economy. Thank you for taking the time to look at the possible economic implications of the passing of Bill 231.